DRC and Rwanda are set to sign a peace deal aimed at ending the long-running conflict in the region at a summit hosted by U.S. President Donald Trump. The DRC's President Felix Tshisekedi and his Rwandan counterpart Paul Kagame will now endorse the deal with several other African and Arab leaders, including those of Burundi and Qatar, expected to attend the signing ceremony. Clashes between students and security forces at Senegal's main university have intensified as protesters demanded stipends and other financial aid amid the government's ongoing fiscal challenges. Authorities at Sheikh Anta Diop University in the heart of the capital requested help from law enforcement to ensure safety as rock-throwing students clashed with security forces. President of one of the campus associations, Demba Ka, said students had tried to hold peaceful demonstrations for 13 months without gaining attention from authorities. French arms company Thales and South Africa's former President Jacob Zuma are today expected to apply for leave to appeal the Pietermaritzburg High Court's dismissal of their application to be acquitted on all charges in the arms deal corruption case. The application was brought to the death of two key Thales figures in the case. Defense lawyers have argued that they won't be able to mount a meaningful defense without the evidence of the two men. Dries Liebenberg reports.
Judge Ngosinati Cili has ruled in June that the court can't stop a prosecution. That power lies with the National Prosecuting Authority. In weighing up Thales and Zuma's arguments, Judge Cili, he says it's speculative to say at this stage that no other witness will be able to assist the defense. Since the June ruling, the state has lodged an application that Judge Cili order the trial to proceed despite any further appeals or applications. Lead prosecutor, Advocate Billy Downer, says in papers several unsuccessful applications by Zuma has delayed the prosecution of the case by 18 years.
Malaria has killed around 610,000 people in 2024, mostly young children in sub-Saharan Africa. A World Health Organization report has warned of the risks of rising drug resistance, climate change, and funding cuts. The toll was a slight increase from the number of deaths in 2023. After vast progress in the early 2000s, the fight against malaria has been stalling in the last decade. While 47 countries have been certified as malaria-free, others are seeing a jump in cases, particularly Ethiopia, Madagascar and Yemen. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulo Webe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In a sports headline, Rassie Erasmus is not sure about how to feel with the potential of facing New Zealand in the World Cup quarterfinals. Angola head coach Patrice Baumel has named his final AFCON squad. I'll be back with these and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
This is Africa Update, your pulse to the continent. Stories shaping nations and voices driving change. Stay informed, stay connected, right here on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
We are on DSTV's audio bouquet channel 802, on OpenView channel 628, and on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app, available on the Apple and Google Play stores. Join us in conversation on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. On Facebook at Channel Africa, you can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763. That's 406-9126 #Africa Update, and let us know which country you're in. And if you have any stories that you'd like us to highlight or to focus on, send us an email. It is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or give us a call on +2711 714 4459. Now, today on hashtag Africa Update asks, following the harsh attack on Somali immigrants by US President Donald Trump, calling them garbage and accusing them of ripping off the state. Now, what should Africa do to protect our people? This is our question to you today. Let us know your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook, at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763 as 406 9126. Hashtag Africa Update Us.
The voice of the continent, now online, with all your sports fixtures, lifestyle, and more.
Madapiri pazoshitika. Madapiri pazoshitika.
Inogeka zingeni chihana lumbiritsidwa kukhala wachiwiri kwa mtsogoleri wa dziko la Malawi pa mwambo omwe unachitika ku nyumba ya chifumu ya Sanjika mu mzinda wa Blantyre. Ndiye pano tili ndi olemekezeka achihana. Takulandirani olemekezeka pano pa wireless ya Channel Africa pa Chinyanja Service. Amalawi ayembekezere zotani kuchokera kwa inu ngati wachiwiri winanso kwa president wa dziko.
Choyamba ngati vice president umagwira ntchito yopatsidwa ndi president imene yakuganizira. Ndiye malowozi athu atipatsa bwinobwino, koma ntchito yathu yayikulu ndikuwathandiza president kuti masomphenya awo yakwanitsidwe, mbali zambiri zoti zichitike, nkhani ya njala mdziko muno, boma la udakali chimanga ndi china chomwe chili mdziko muno kuti tithandize families are affected. Chachiwiri kunali ma fuel shortages amene akanaliponso apo ndi apo tionetsetse kuti pumps athu asakhale dry.
Zochitika pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo. Lolemba mpaka lachisanu ndi Madapiri.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 9:12 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Students and security forces clashed at Senegal's main university. Authorities at Sheikh Anta Diop University requested help from law enforcement to ensure safety as students threw rocks and security forces responded with tear gas. Our students claim they were trying to engage in discussions when the police entered the campus. And to speak to us further, we are joined on the line by Professor Usman Sene, a former lecturer at the university and also director of the West African Research Center in Dakar. Now, Prof, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon.
Now, the clashes came when students demanded stipends and other financial aid. What are some of the other issues facing students and the university as a whole?
Well, look, we have a number of universities, but what we could say is that depending based on the number of people graduating every year from senior high school to senior high schools, maybe the number of universities is not enough. At the same time, if you see the student population in the first and the largest university in Senegal, that is to say University Cheikh Anta Diop in Dakar, well, the figure is staggering. You're counting no less than 80,000 students. And the number is growing every year, and what the students were just clamoring for is the payment of what you call their stipends or scholarship. Because since the times of President Abdoulaye Wade, who was the third president of Senegal, the decision was made to allow full scholarship for all students, at least a stipend, so that they may surviving, because most of them hail from villages. They are not from Dakar, and housing is a problem, food is a problem. So scholarship is vital for those students to survive on campus and take their classes normally.
So what is the situation now? What are the students who don't have, accommodation, for instance? How are they surviving on campus? Are they squatting? What is the situation? You were there as a lecturer, as a professor.
Yeah, squatting is one thing, because if you take, for instance, a student room on campus, it is unlikely that that particular room will be sheltering only one single student. It's more likely that in one room you can have up to 5, 6, 7, or even sometimes 10 bedrooms. For those people or for those students who cannot take advantage of that setup, well, they will be certainly paying rent outside campus and consequently paying for transportation also. Even though university and education in general in Senegal is free, but there are some accompanying expenses which makes education a little bit expensive. But this is relatively as compared to countries where in order to go to school you got to pay your schooling fees. So most of the students do have scholarships, but not all of them do have scholarship. And the scholarship maybe sometimes are not enough to cover all expenses. So this is the real problem. And the other problem they are also clashing with the government is, when should they be paid those scholarships? And do you understand that every single student is entitled? There are some who are, some others who are not. Because if you repeat your class so many times, well, you no longer qualify for a scholarship. But let me add that this scholarship or stipend is a recurring problem, or has been a recurring problem for over 20 years on campuses in Senegal. And it is a problem which is very difficult to solve because of a budget which is required, but which need to be solved, because otherwise the academic calendar disrupted every single year. At this present moment, nobody can tell you what is the academic calendar. Is the university going to open in October and then you go until June or July, which was the case when we were students? No. You can only open when all exams are finished and wrapped up. So it disrupts, this university calendar. It disrupts the regular proceeding of classes. It disrupts everything. And this is one of the major problems in Senegal when it comes to peace, peaceful living, students striking and getting even out there in the street and breaking people's car. This is part of the image of Dakar. Now, and I hope a solution will be found with new authorities.
Now, so speaking of solutions to be found with authorities or with government, why is government not dealing with this crisis? Because we can call it a crisis if, police then engage with students and throw tear gas and the people running all over the place to safety. Why is government not able to deal with this crisis, especially when it comes to the financials?
Yeah, let me tell you how it works. If this problem or these troubles reach a point where human life is at jeopardy, where the normal conduct of university business is jeopardized, then the university or the academic council, they meet and they allow the vice president or vice chancellor, we call him rector, to call in the police. Normally, the premises of a university should not be invaded by the police, what you call the academic or university franchises. But when you have a situation like this, which you can call rightfully a crisis, then the university authorities meet and determine whether they will be taking a decision where police can come in order for law and order to be restored. What I can tell you is if the government or the Senegal administration had a solution to this, this would not have been dragging for so many years and disrupting the normal proceedings of universities. It requires a lot of money. because 80,000 students on University of Dakar or University Sheikh Anta Diop campus, and you need to count 7 to 8 more universities with smaller enrollment, but still, you talk about a staggering number of students to whom you should be paying something at the end of every month. We talk about a huge budget, and we talk about Senegal, a country which is paving its way towards development and which is doing great things, but at the same time, which is money constraints, just like many governments in the world. So it's a problem of finance or money opportunity or availability, and sometimes the students are too much in a hurry to get those get that money in order to survive. So
it is a difficult
I understand
Prof.
there will be.
It is a difficult
there
one,
will be
Professor.
Yeah?
I beg your pardon.
Excuse me?
Please continue. You understand?
Yeah.
All right, Prof. I was just going to say.
I understand that negotiation will be underway soon, but this is a bane for higher education in Senegal. Striking, paralyzing everything on campus is a bane on our campuses. And this should be eradicated for good, but it is not. There is no easy solution. You've got to solve the problem of the student. You've got to solve the problems of academics. You've got to solve the problem of ordinary, normal administrative workers on campus, etc., etc. It's really, I won't say it's a catch-22, but it's a problem not very easy to solve.
Now, Prof, students have complained that they have tried to hold peaceful demonstrations for over a year now, but authorities have paid no attention, and they also appealed to the president, the prime minister, to address these issues. Has the appeal, is it being taken seriously? And the fact that you mentioned earlier that this has been an ongoing issue for a number of years. And might I say, it's not only a problem in Senegal. South Africa also experiences such challenges.
Yeah, let me tell you one thing. No matter how you call it, a demonstration is a demonstration. And when you start it, you will never know if you'll be able to stop it. If it is peaceful, you will never know if you will be able to keep the peaceful quality of a demonstration, because there is a possibility for infiltration. That is to say, people who are absolutely against the university, who have nothing to do with university, they can infiltrate the demonstration and start breaking. This is beyond control. So, and when you start that and violence gradually settles in, that's where the authorities will be forced to call the police inside, and clashes between the police and students is such a routine image in our daily life in Senegal and in the other cities, in Dakar and in the other cities where you have universities. A solution is possible immediately. I don't know, because you know that presently the economic situation in Senegal and even for the government is not particularly rosy. Would they initiate negotiations? I know they called on the president himself and the prime minister, but remember in Senegal, the president and the prime minister are quite young, and if they have some constituency in terms of politics, it is certainly among the younger population, and even with.
All right, we seem to have lost that connection to Professor Ousmane Sene, a former lecturer at the Sheikh Anta Diop University and also director of the West African Research Center in Dakar. And he was joining us on the line. It is 21 after 12 Central African Time.
Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter?
Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard?
Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126. And we will call you back so you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am,
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views, share your opinion, engage with a community that values your perspective. Follow us on our social media. Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za and get ready to share your views on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
The first individuals in South Africa have begun using lenacapavir for HIV prevention in South Africa as part of a study funded by Unitaid, led by WITS Reproductive Health and HIV Institute. These achievements occur in record time, just 5 months after lenacapavir was first approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for HIV prevention, making it among the first real-world use of the 6-monthly injectable in low and middle income countries. With an injection under the skin every 6 months, lenacapavir was shown in clinical trials to be safe and nearly 100% effective at preventing HIV. And to speak to us further about this, we are joined on the line by Dr. Catherine Martin, a senior technical specialist at WITS RHI. Dr. Martin, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, thank you.
Now, Doctor, briefly refresh us on lenacapavir and how it is going to work.
So lenacapavir is an antiretroviral medicine that's used to prevent HIV. It's what we call PrEP, which means pre-exposure prophylaxis. So it's given to people who are HIV negative to prevent HIV acquisition. And it can be used by HIV negative people weighing 35 kilos or more. It's given as a 6-monthly or twice yearly injection. As you mentioned, it's given under the skin. So it's given in the space between the skin and the muscle, usually either in the abdomen or the buttock area. And the medicine is slowly released over time. So when someone initiates, they would start with 2 injections. When they start, they also need to take 4 pills. 2 are given on the day they receive the injections and 2 the following day. And it was found in studies, and we know that it is very safe and very effective in preventing HIV.
How significant is this development? And would you say it is groundbreaking and a breakthrough?
Yes, absolutely. It is groundbreaking and a breakthrough. I think what is particularly exciting about the study that we are doing is that it will be the first time that we are implementing in real-world settings, and we will be integrating lenacapavir PrEP in addition to daily oral PrEP, where people will get a choice of either len or oral PrEP. What is particularly important is how effective len is, also that it is long-acting. So we know that people have challenges with taking a daily oral pill, but lenacapavir gives them the option. So people now will have a choice of which PrEP method could suit them best.
How many individuals will participate, in terms of having the lenacapavir being administered on them, and which gender in particular, and across what age groups?
So for the study that WITS RHI is implementing, where we will be able to learn lessons that will help us know how best to scale up, for our study, we will be initiating about 1,400 people on lenacapavir. Our focus will be on adolescent girls and young women, but we will also be including pregnant and breastfeeding women, as well as men.
And after individuals have been initiated on lenacapavir, what will the next step be? And, how do you, in terms of the process, it goes under the skin, and it's a long serving sort of prep. And what then happens? What's the next step?
So for our study, one of the things that we will be looking at is how best do we prepare for scale-up, and what is needed in a real-world setting. So we will be looking at what are the information and training needs for providers, what information do clients need, how best is this lenacapavir prep provided alongside other health services such as contraception and STI services. And so for this study, we will be following people up for a year and looking at all of those considerations.
And how did you select these individuals?
So for this study, we're building on work that has been done in terms of youth-friendly services, but we're also looking at populations and people that may most benefit from HIV prevention. And we know that in that context, that is adolescent girls and young women, but also not forgetting pregnant women who may also benefit.
Dr. Martin, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. We are going to leave it there for today.
Thank you very much.
That's Dr. Catherine Martin, a senior technical specialist at WITS Reproductive Health and HIV Institute, joining us on the line.
Jinsia unaharibu maisha na kutenga jamii. Hutokea nyumbani, shuleni, kazini na mara nyingi kwa ukimya. Lakini hauwezi kuendelea. Ukiona, ongea. Ikiwa unaumia, funguka, kwa sababu kutofanya lolote sio chaguo. Sikiliza vituo vyote 19 vya redio kuanzia Jumatano ya tarehe 23 Julai kwenye mijadala, ushauri, tamthilia, maonyesho ya elimu na mahojiano na wataalamu, manusura, watunga sheria na nchi nzima iliyoathirika na ukatili wa kijinsia kwenye vituo vyako pendwa vya redio. Piga simu 0800-428-428 ili kuripoti unyanyasaji au kupata msaada. GBV ikomeshwe na wewe. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na shirika la SABC.
Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update. Only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Oh, today on hashtag Africa Update asks, following the harsh attack on Somali immigrants by US President Donald Trump, calling them garbage and accusing them of ripping off the state, what should Africa do to protect our people? And this is the question for today. Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763. That's 406-9126. Hashtag Africa Update Asks.
The sound of Africa is evolving. Experience our new mobile app. Free to download, free to connect.
Join us in conversation on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. On Facebook at Channel Africa, you can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763. That's 406-9126. Hashtag Africa Update, and let us know which country you're in. And if you have any stories that you'd like us to highlight or to focus on, send us an email. It is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or give us a call on +2711 714 4491. It is time for our news headlines.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good day. Making headlines. Amnesty International has accused Sudan's Rapid Support Forces of committing war crimes during their attack earlier this year on Zamzam, the country's largest displacement camp in Darfur. Clashes between students and security forces at Senegal's main university have intensified as protesters demanded stipends and other financial aid amid the government's ongoing fiscal challenges. And finally, the Gates Foundation says preventable child deaths will rise this year for the first time this century. I will have details on these and other stories at 1 o'clock.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports. On Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And let's start off with rugby news. Rassie Erasmus, the South Africa's national rugby team coach, and the Springboks is uncertain about what to make of potentially facing arch rivals New Zealand in the quarterfinals of the next World Cup after the top two ranked teams were drawn in the same pathway for the 2027 tournament in Australia. The top seeded Springboks were drawn in Pool B, while three times champions New Zealand are in Pool A. And if, as expected, they top those groups and beat third-place teams from other pools in the round of 16, the Southern Hemisphere Giants will clash for a spot in the semi-finals in a rematch of the 2023 final. Erasmus says he has no fears about his team peaking at the right time in the tournament. South Africa started in pool with Georgia, Italy and Romania, and there was a suggestion this might not be tough enough in their preparation for the likely quarterfinal clash with the All Blacks. On to cricket news. South Africa's Proteas opening batter Aiden Markram says he had to take the bull by the horns as he led South Africa to victory in the second ODI against India in Raipur, levelling the three-match series 1-1. Markram's 110 in 98 deliveries helped them to a 4-wicket win, chasing down a massive 358, their third highest run chase in the 50-over format. It says each player had to do their best to see the team over the line.
You kind of know how to chase 350, 360, you have to take the game on a bit and manage that with setting the game up and being smart in between as well. So it wasn't a collective discussion, it was each guy backing their game, the options that they feel confident in doing and trusting that, and hopefully it comes off. So great collective batting effort from everyone today, and that's how you can chase a big number like that.
This was Markram's fourth century in the format, but his first in an ODI chase. He says it would have meant very little had they not come out on the right side of the result.
Runs only matters if you win games, to be fair, or at least for me. So if we lost today, I'd be as miserable as I would have been in the previous game. So getting a result is something that means or makes me really happy, of course. But those two boys in the middle order, obviously Brevis hits the ball miles, he takes the game on, he's not afraid to put bowlers under pressure and stuff like that, and it's as cricket lovers, I suppose it's great to watch, it's really entertaining. And then Matthew Beretsku's had an incredible start to his ODI career.
And in football news, Angola head coach Patrice Baumel has named his final 28-man squad for AFCON, confirming the group that will attempt to deliver the Balanga Negra's best ever showing at the continental finals. Angola are in Group B campaign against South Africa, Zimbabwe and Egypt. Despite expectations, season figures, including Bastos, Gilberto and Andrade, were not included in the final list. The French coach has opted for a balanced group that blends experienced internationals with emerging talents, reinforcing his ambition to go beyond the quarterfinal stage for the first time in the country's history. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter? Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard? Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 407 0806-9126. And we will call you back so you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am,
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views. Share your opinion. Engage with a community that values your perspective. Follow us on our social media. Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za and get ready to share your views on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. Time for our first look at the business news this afternoon. And in our top story, the African Development Bank plans to provide $1.78 billion in financing for Namibia over the next few years, focusing on projects in transport, energy, and water sectors. This initiative is aimed at supporting Namibia's economic growth from 2025 to 2030, with the total funding potentially subject to change after a review midway through that period. The majority of the financing will consist of loans, complemented by a grant component, although specific projects benefiting from this funding have not been identified. Namibia, rich in resources, has become an exploration hotspot for global energy companies and aims to achieve its first crude oil output by 2030, which could significantly alter its economy. National Union of Mine Workers in South Africa marks its 43rd anniversary today, with the main event in Matlosana in the Northwest Province. The union was launched on this day in 1982 in Klerksdorp and quickly grew into one of the country's biggest unions for black mine workers. Founding General Secretary Cyril Ramaphosa, President James Motlatsi, and Deputy President Elijah Bahai led the union in its early years. In 1985, the NUM played a central role in setting up COSATU. Union leaders and former members are expected to attend today's commemoration. Libuwani Mamburu is the NUM spokesperson.
It's a significant milestone considering the role that the NM has played since its formation. Some of these leaders have gone to play a significant role in society today and also in the civil society. I mean, the most important battle that I can mention that the NM has played, it was in the 1987 strike that lasted 21 days. And after that strike, one of the significant issues that the NEM was fighting for was that black mine workers must have a provident fund. And in 1989, it was founded. And today, as we speak, it is worth billions.
South African bank Absa Group says it's mobilizing sustainable finance at scale through green bonds, sustainability-linked loans, and other innovative mechanisms. This is in a bid to close Africa's climate investment gap and unlock new opportunities for growth. Finance has become one of the defining pressure points ahead of COP30, particularly as the European Union and several developed country blocs continue to resist reopening the new collective quantified goal agreed at COP29. Head of Stakeholder Relations at Absa Group, Kenneth Milanzi.
I think the data speaks for itself. In terms of climate flows, with less than a tenth of what is being put out gets to Africa. So we are the least emitting, yet most impacted, yet you find that financing is very little. The bulk of the financing comes from public sector, you and I's tax money, whereas in the global north, the bulk of the financing, which is 90%, comes from the private sector. So how we could build the gap, I guess, coming back to the bankability portion, is using new models such as that, de-risking the projects.
Empower Trading has become the first privately incorporated South African company to secure conditional market participant membership from the Southern African Power Pool, marking a significant milestone in South Africa's energy market reform. This approval enables the company to engage in cross-border electricity imports and exports, transitioning the nation's power system towards a more competitive multinational marketplace. CEO James Beattie emphasized that this diversification will lead to access to cleaner and more affordable power. French President Emmanuel Macron has called for enhanced cooperation with Chinese leader Xi Jinping on geopolitics, trade, and the environment during his fourth state visit to China. The visit is part of the EU's efforts to gain China's support in resolving the Ukraine conflict. Amidst ongoing trade tensions with the US, Macron aims to strengthen his foreign policy influence and secure commercial agreements to bolster his political legacy ahead of the 2027 presidential election. He emphasized the importance of dialogue and proposed a threefold agenda focusing on geopolitical stability, economic rebalancing, and environmental sustainability. And now taking our first look at the indicators this afternoon, $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,445 naira. In Botswana, it's at 13 pula 20. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 39. And in Zambia, it's 22 kwacha 93. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 rial 31. Russia, 76 rubles 93. In India, it's 90 rupees 12. China, 716. And South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rand 6 cents this afternoon. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $4,200 per ounce. It's inched up since this morning. And platinum at $1,649 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $62.81 a barrel. And that's the business news. For any stories you'd like to share with us, please do send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Bontle Hetbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa at Play with Neto and ETO Chemane.
I've witnessed something fresh, something exciting, and something very inspirational from the president of the country, William Ruto. Whenever athletes are performing to their best level, he always comes on board to reward those athletes, be it football, be it athletics, and not leaving it up to the sport ministry.
The president realizes that sport is a business, and for that reason, he also reduces the number of people who are jobless, because sports now is such a serious business, and for that reason, commercialization of sport is a major way of improving or increasing employment opportunities for the young people, and that is why the president has been very persistent in trying as much as possible to inspire more sports personalities to reduce the baggage of the people who are struggling to get job opportunities in the country among the young people.
Francis F. Motegi, our correspondent from East Africa in Nairobi, Kenya.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
It is 12:43 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. The Madlanga Commission in South Africa has continued hearing the testimony of suspended Ekurhuleni Deputy Police Chief Julius Mkhwanazi. Now, suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu is appearing after Mkhwanazi has completed his testimony. Let's take a listen.
Deliberately went back there to show that in those 4 years, political matters were 11. This was before the establishment of PKTT. And then there are other categories like politically related cases and political related cases and so on, the total. But I want to jump to 2018 in the interest of time, the year of establishing, or the year in which PKTT was established. There were 14 matters. And then 2019, 15 matters, 2020, 15 matters, 17, 27, 11, and by 2024, you were talking about 7 matters, because the graph went down in 2023 of politically motivated matters, down to 11, and then to 7. Now, 102, indicates just in KZN, flowing from that from those figures above to indicate that in those years, political, not political matters in KZN. You are talking about between 2011 and 2012. 2011, 2012, and then 2015 to 2016, you are talking about 18,396. Now, you compare, as I say, with the figure above, which indicates which is politically motivated matters, 11 and 18,000, in other words. Now, I'm not even taking those of the country, which is 85,000 at that time. But let's go to 2018, because that 18,000 is a combination of years, but I'm now taking 1 year. 2018, in KZN, there were 4,382 matters. Just to continue referring to the stats, in that year, in 2018, you had 14 that were political, that were identified as political, just 14. But these are lives, of course, and I shouldn't even add just. It's 14 lives that were. But outside politically motivated, you had 4,014, 2018. Now 2019-20, it's 4,859. And there were 15 matters in 2019. 2020, there were again 15 matters, political, in terms of politically motivated. But in the same year, in KZN, you had 4,859. Now, 2020 to 2021, 4,825. 2021, so the whole figure goes like that. But this side, by then, the combined figure is 27,494. Now, let's go to the graph, which is on page 40. Now that is the graph that indicates matters over time in the country. So the top line is matters in the country as a whole. The next line, matters in KZN over time. And the red line is politically motivated matters. So just the same as I've been saying, 2016-17 is 32 against 40,000 and 4,018 against that 19,000. And then you go 20 in 2017-18 against 4,382. And then 14 against 4,395. And then in 2019-20, 15,000 against 4,000. 2020-21, 15,000 against 4,825. And then 2021-2022, 17 against 6,000, which was even...
And that is suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who is appearing at the Madlanga Commission, just unpacking what the stats are. And this is the information he's brought through to the Madlanga Commission. It is that time of the day where, well, it is 12:49 Central African time, and we're coming to you live in Johannesburg in South Africa.
Channel Africa, your voice, your sound, and your home. Stay logged right here. Your life, your rhythm, your Africa. Channel Africa. Find it for free on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Africa Update Your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It's 12:50 Central African Time, and we say a happy Thursday and good afternoon to Tebogo Kuleni of The Upside.
How are you doing, Lulu?
I'm good, thanks, and how are you?
Fantastic. So this afternoon on The Upside, we get into conversation about the psychological traumas that one experiences when you're a child and how that grows you if not dealt with. From the roots from a very early age. And this comes after we've heard the likes of Vusimuzi Ket Matlala testifying at the commission, where he referenced, growing up as a street kid, the traumas he experienced, and what impact that would have had on his upbringing to where he is now, in the position that he finds himself in. So we'll be getting into conversation with a psychologist concerning the effects of psychological lack of support when you're a child, when you experience trauma, and what impact that will have when you grow up. And then we are joined on the line by Alpheus Ngwepe, a visual artist who conveys his art through photography and layered paintings and exploring themes of identity, struggle, and connection. He's got a showcase coming up on the 6th to the 7th of December at the Emergent Visions Showcase at Jam at 27 Boxes. So that's going to be a fun conversation. And then later on, we are joined by fashion designer Vusimuzi Bob the Stylist Ndima. He is the founder of Boys of Soweto. That's a fashion brand, and we want to unpack where it all began, what inspired it, and what has kept him going all these years. That's all coming up on The Upside.
And that is Tebogo Kuleni of The Upside, together with Matsego Musito from the top of the hour. It is 12:52 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa.
We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet, Channel 628. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
In the United States, Minnesota officials have reacted strongly after President Donald Trump launched a harsh attack on Somali immigrants, calling them garbage and accusing them of ripping off the state. Now, the remarks come amid reports of possible federal immigration raids targeting Somali communities in the Twin Cities. Local leaders say they haven't been notified, but they are preparing for the worst. Botlhale Pele has more.
The controversy began in Washington, where President Trump used a cabinet meeting to launch one of his most direct attacks yet on Somali immigrants and on Minnesota officials who support them.
Somalians ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay?
Trump went further, calling Somali immigrants garbage and accusing Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and her supporters of harming the country. He also said he wants to pause migration from what he called third world countries, a category he noted excludes white Afrikaners. The comments come as Minnesota officials say they've received credible media reports suggesting that up to 100 federal immigration agents may be deployed to target Somali communities in Minneapolis and St. Paul. But local leaders say they haven't been formally informed and they will not cooperate.
To our Somali community, we love you and we stand with you. That commitment is rock solid. Minneapolis is proud to be home to the largest Somali community in the entire country.
Mayor Jacob Frey says any raid aimed at Somalis risks detaining a community of majorly documented U.S. citizens based purely on appearance.
Targeting Somali people means that due process will be violated, mistakes will be made. And let's be clear, it means that American citizens will be detained for no other reason than the fact that they look like they are Somali. That is not now and will never be a legitimate reason.
Across the river in St. Paul, Mayor Melvin Carter condemned the president's language as racist and dangerous.
When we talk about attacks, racist, Islamophobic, xenophobic attacks on our Somali community, And you combine that with what Mayor Fry just said, the vast majority of our Somali community are citizens. So who he just attacked isn't just Somalis. Who he attacked is Somali Americans. Who he attacked is Americans. And so if the President of the United States is telling you out loud that he hates Americans, then I can't imagine a greater confession of incompetence to do the job that you've been hired to do.
The Twin Cities is home to roughly 80,000 Somali residents. Many have lived in the US for decades, and most are documented or citizens. But after the president's remarks, community leaders say fear is rising.
I am proud to say I'm a Somali American. This country welcomed me and my family 26 years ago. It has provided me a life that I did not have in Somalia. We came here and we are thankful to be here. I've been educated here, got the opportunity to serve my community, to be a council member. I know many families are fearful tonight. They are.
Police say they've received no official confirmation of upcoming raids, urging calm while asking any protests to remain peaceful. As tensions rise, Minnesota leaders say their message is clear. Somali Americans are part of we the people, and they're not going anywhere. I'm Batali Pile, SABC News.
Gender-based violence and femicide dominated yesterday's oral question session of the Peace and Security Cluster as South Africa's members of parliament pressed ministers on government's response to the country's worsening GBV crisis. Our members raised concerns about the protection of victims, delays in justice processes, and allegations that police are failing to respond timeously when women seek help. Mkokeli Bandla filed this report.
GBVF took center stage in the National Assembly on Wednesday afternoon, with MPs demanding clear answers from ministers on the state's ability to protect vulnerable women and children. DAMP Glenis Breitenbach questioned the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Mamuloko Kubai, on government's commitments in the fight against gender-based violence and femicide, asking whether the promises made through the National Strategic Plan are translating into real protection on the ground. This is how Kubai responded.
Previous financial year, 19 sexual offences courts were established, and in this financial year, 16 courts are being established. We are officially opening one tomorrow at Botshabelo in Free State, and these are important as they help victims to be able to testify appropriately and have environment that is appropriate victim support or victim-based and survivor-based approach. And 40 courts are being upgraded this financial year.
EFF MP Rebecca Muhlale raised concerns about the safety of victims whose protection orders are not being enforced. She warned that failures by law enforcement officials are leaving survivors exposed and at risk despite having court-issued protection. Kubai again.
There are various mechanisms that we can say that needs to do. And understand the context that one woman raped is one too many. One child violated is one too many. So we can talk about statistics, but as long as there is a woman who is raped, there's a child who's violated, that's too many. So we need to create an environment where in a society that we protect these children, we protect the society.
From the ANC, Julian Mukwena pressed the police ministry on how officers are handling GBV cases, saying survivors continue to report poor treatment, secondary trauma, and lack of urgency in dealing with reported abuse cases.
And that report by Kokeli Bandla. And that's how we wrap Africa Update today. Continue with us on all our social media platforms. And it's goodbye for today. And let's do this again tomorrow.